Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Today we are going to look at the trade deficit. Now, the trade is in two categories. You have goods and you have services. The one that's making all the news is the goods, the things America manufactures or doesn't manufacture. We're not looking at the services. America actually has a surplus in services, which helps offset our trade deficit in products. So we're doing okay on the services side, which is by design. America and American businesses decided in the 1950s, 60s, 70s that we were going to get away from manufacturing as a country because manufacturing is lower paying jobs. Now America has decided that we want to bring those lower paying jobs back, so we're going to get further away from the services side and we're going to go back and bring back the American low paying jobs that we got rid of. So we need these low paying jobs for you guys. Okay, so we're going to dive into that and try not to get too complicated. I'm going to give you a few examples that are just topical, and I encourage you to research these things yourself. Pick up a book, read articles, read things. Dive into this. Educate yourself. Don't be dumb. Don't follow people. Don't follow politicians. Don't follow me. Take what I say. Take it to heart. Do your own research. Find out the truth. That's what matters. Let's look at this one example. And this one example, all of you, I hope, know is TikTok. TikTok is a Chinese-owned social media company. And in the year 2000, Trump proposed a ban on TikTok because he said that it was a national security threat. That's in 2020. He went further and he signed an executive order that the ByteDance, which is the owner of TikTok, that they divest of TikTok so that TikTok is not a Chinese-controlled company. So Trump recognized that in 2020. He signed that executive order, and it ended up being struck down by the courts because Congress's job, not Trump's. Okay, flash forward 2024, Congress shuts down TikTok. National security set, same thing that Trump was saying in 2020. They shut it down. They set an end date and said, you have to divest from this or shut it down. This time around, Trump is president, and he is not enforcing the laws that Congress passed. Congress shut it down, and Trump is, in my opinion, violating the law to help save TikTok. So Trump is working with China to help save the Chinese social media platform TikTok. Okay, that complicates trade. That complicates the deficit. I mean, you get rid of TikTok, you're helping lower the United States trade deficit by getting rid of that, and Congress already has said to do it. So that should be done, but it's not because Trump wants to save that Chinese company. Why does he want to save that Chinese company? I don't know. If you look at it, if you go over to China, Google search, Facebook, other social media apps, they are all banned in China. The United States has no access to their markets for Facebook, for Google, for others. So it would only be fair that we get rid of TikTok. When you add in the national security issue and the fact that Congress has already made this happen and he's just refusing to do it, it can show you how complicated the trade deficit can get. We have that. Another thing we can look at is we can look at Trump's blasphemy Bibles. Yes, I said that, Trump's blasphemy Bible. He adds his own content, his own whatever, to the Bible, sends that over to China, has China print those Bibles for $3, ships them back to America, and he sells them autographed for $1,000. Okay, I'm going to leave the religious part alone. Okay, if you think that God's okay with someone selling $1,000 autographed Bibles that they've put their own stuff into. If you think that's a Christian thing to do, okay. If you don't, make a video on it. I'm leaving that alone for now. My point is that Trump sent that to China and had them printed for $3. And then he sends them back to America and he sells them for $1,000. So on the trade deficit, you have $3 China, $997 stays in America. Okay? It costs $3 to keep $997 in America. That is why, even though Trump rallies against China and rallies against all these other countries doing everything, that is why when he makes business decisions, he is still having his products made in China, because he can save so much money and make so much money. That's why. It's about money. When it comes to America first, love of country, money talks. Even with Trump, money talks. So someone might ask, since it was America's decision to get rid of manufacturing and go to service-based country, did we fail at offering services, or was our calculation wrong that services would outweigh making products? Was that a miscalculation, or are they just teaching us the wrong math on everything? Take a look at that. I am going to the whiteboard for this presentation. This circle is America. Okay? This is America. And we are looking at Walmart. Okay, Walmart is an American company. And in this example, Walmart is making their products in China. So they make their products in China and they send them to America. And this is a trade deficit in red. That is a trade deficit to America caused by Walmart. But what you might not realize is that Walmart actually has stores in the rest of the world. You have all these other Walmarts, okay? And what happens here is these Walmarts make money. And since Walmart is an American company, the profits from these go back to America, because Walmart is an American company and the money they make overseas goes back to America. This is profit. This is a deficit, but you're also bringing in a profit. You're not looking at the profit generated from other Walmart sales overseas. You're not looking at it there. So it makes this number hard to track. Walmart is doing $162 billion. $162 billion of sales in other countries. And all that profit goes back to America. That's not chump change. That is a lot of money coming back into the American economy. Now we are going to take a look at Apple. As you know, Apple is an American company. And as you know, they make most of their things in China. So Apple is sending its products from China to America, and that contributes to the trade deficit. And we have a deficit of markers in this country. Okay, this is a negative trade deficit with the U.S., but what you're not looking at, Apple also has all these other stores around the world where they are selling Apple products. All these Apple products. And all the profits from all these other countries for Apple, all the profits come back to Apple. And Apple is an American company. So all those profits go back to America. You still have this trade deficit on paper, and it makes Apple look like they're really bad, but look at all this money they're bringing in. That makes this number right here. It means that number is not very accurate for actual dollars going back and forth. That trade deficit number is not accurate. To give you an idea, Apple does $236 billion in business overseas. $236 billion in overseas business. So the profit from those sales, all the profit from $236 billion, that profit goes back to America. I think your politicians just have you looking at this little piece right here, and they want you to be mad. Mad, mad, mad. Ignore the fact that Apple is bringing all this money back to the American economy. Don't look at this. The politicians don't want you looking at this. They want you to look at this and be mad. So what do we do with that? So what do you do with that? You have to educate yourself. Or you can stay dumb and you can just follow the politicians and listen to what they say and be dumb. Contribute to the downfall in the education of America. Or take the time, educate yourself, look for the truth. The national deficit is not what it seems. And I've showed you 2 examples. That's just 2. There are millions of companies in America. A lot of them also do business overseas. A lot of them do. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And they are all contributing. It goes back and forth. That is the global trade system. That global trade system that a lot of people want to rally against. So like, yeah, America first. Protectionist, protectionist, America first. America first. You lose all that money coming in from the American companies bringing the money in overseas from overseas sales. America first, you threaten that, you risk that, you lose that. Those profits are what is actually offsetting the trade deficit in America. Here's another point to consider. At any given time, American companies have trillions, $2 to $4 trillion out around the world. Money from sales overseas that's in different stages in different bank accounts that has not been brought back to America yet. There have been several pushes in my lifetime for overseas money held by American companies to be repatriated back into America, but that is not something that Trump has done in his first administration, or Biden has done, or Trump has even discussed doing in this term. So it's not something that is of interest to them. Maybe because if you bring that money back, the trade deficit balances out. Anyways, trillions of dollars is sitting out by Apple, Walmart, all these international companies, and they use that money to do business. You know, you have thousands of stores around the world. It costs money. If you take your money and you bring it back to America and then you have to send it back, you are transferring your money transferring currencies, and that has a business cost to it to transfer currencies, transfer assets. So if they are going to use money for operations in a business overseas, it's best for them to leave some of that money overseas. But it is still trillions of American dollars, and it is not counted into the trade deficit or surpluses that we have on either side, but it is still money that is going to America. It's American money. It just doesn't show up in the deficit numbers because it's still out and about in the world. But if you're going to be fair to these other countries when you want trade deals and things like that, you need to count that. You can't go to country A and country B and say, well, we have this huge imbalance, and half the reason we have the imbalance is because the American company hasn't sent the cash back to America yet. You can't expect the foreign country to pay for that. You just can't do it. You're not going to get a trade deal with anybody if you're using wrong numbers, fake numbers, whatever you call them. So That's another thing to consider when you look at the deficit. That's why we have run a trade deficit for generations. And we're still here. America's still one of the strongest countries in the world, even though we have run a trade deficit for generations. It's because you follow the politicians on the trade war math, the trade deficit math. You don't take the time to educate yourself, to look at the big picture, to see the money coming in from this side. All you see is what's going out this side. You don't see what's coming in this side. Is that the politicians' fault, or is that America's fault for not being educated enough to see the big picture? Put it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Am I crazy? Is it completely wrong? I don't think so. Put it in the comments. If you want to, like, subscribe, share, any of those fun things. Keeping this one short. I'm out. That's it. Goodbye.